And we are recording. And ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome back to the Offsetting Penalties Podcast, episode 21 of the show. And every Monday, you've got us two, me, Gametime Grech here. We're breaking down a big divisional weekend. One blowout that I'm dreading to talk about, two overtime thrillers, and then a CJ Stroud collapse. Hell of a weekend, and then the national championship. Congratulations to Indiana. Zach, a lot of football going on. How we feeling, brother?
I'm feeling that, man. First of all, can we just talk about that quarterback run that Fernando Mendoza just did? It was insane out of every single facet I've seen in life. And Fernando Mendoza is one dog of a mentality, and he's been nothing but short of greatness. And he's brought greatness to just Indiana University, Kurt Signetti. But what I want to say is, Las Vegas Raiders, you better treat your boy right. Because if you don't treat your boy right, it's gonna be one hell of an experiment gone short and gone wrong. So, anyways,
Mark Davis, Tom Brady, all the Raiders personnel was there at the game today, scouting Mendoza. The Raiders need a rebuild, and you know what? If you're going to take a quarterback to rebuild your organization around, this isn't a great quarterback year, but the one that there is Mendoza. And, you know, I think in terms of the human being, I think he's the right person to set the culture there. And what a turnaround from statistically the worst Power 5 program in college football history to national champion, 16-0. I mean, truly remarkable. I know this is an NFL and UFC podcast, but I think we wouldn't be doing justice if we didn't talk about it a little bit on the top. But the point is, today we're recapping the divisional round, like I said at the top. And I don't want to waste any time because there is some NFL news, some coaching carousel moves that we could talk about a little bit at the end of the show. But I think we should just jump straight into it. And let's start with the first game of the weekend and what I thought was the game of the weekend from start to finish, and some big news from it as well. The Denver Broncos take down the Buffalo Bills in overtime, the first of two overtime games on the weekend, 33-30. It was a Josh Allen 3-turnover performance. He was very emotional after the game, but you know, as big of a storyline as it is that the Broncos beat the Bills, it's a huge storyline that Bo Nix ankle surgery done for the rest of the postseason, however far the Broncos do go. Jarrett Stidham the rest of the way, but Bo Nix played a pretty good game in this one, and you know, they beat a Bills team that many people were picking to upset the Broncos in Mile High.
Bo Nix, Bo Nix, I feel so bad.
Yeah, dude.
I feel so bad for Bo Nix. And I think the one thing that what hurts me the most from this whole idea of Bo Nix is that the man literally played 100% of this season, got banged up, all these things. And just to hear that you are 2 games away from a life-changing opportunity in the NFL, and this is what, his second year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Breaks his ankle.
Yeah.
And now the Super Bowl lies on the hands of Jarrett Stidham, who a guy said that he could be the starting quarterback, who the guy said that this should be his job. Well, in his odds of his favor, the biggest game of his life starts this Sunday. And it starts against the New England Patriots and Drake May.
Yeah.
If Jarrett Stidham can make another miraculous, just in general, type of comeback or whatever story. I mean, this guy in Auburn was a dog. People forget that.
Yeah, he was.
But I mean, we'll see what he can do in the NFL. I mean, there's been a couple games that he's won, but this is going to be the biggest testimony for him, man. And he better rise to the occasion, or if he falls short, he will be reminded probably for the rest of his NFL career.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of parallels going into this Denver-New England game. Jarrett Stidham was a guy who, when Josh McDaniels was in Vegas coaching the Raiders, McDaniels brought in. He actually started a couple games. Remember when Derek Carr got benched towards the end of his final year with the Raiders? It was Jarrett Stidham who started the last couple games. Actually played really well against the Niners and Chiefs in his 2 games that he did start. And now he's going against Josh McDaniels, of course, the offensive coordinator in New England, who's been coaching Drake May all year. Really devastating. You know, I think Bo Nix has been a topic of of controversy this year because there's some moments of brilliance and just some really, really ugly games out of him. But I thought against Buffalo, he was playing a really, really good game. And it was one of the final plays of overtime, but I really commend Bo Nix for, in overtime in this game, really going at the Buffalo corners, pushing the ball down the field, drawing flags, getting his team in field goal range to eventually kick the game winner in overtime. That's a trait many people ignore in quarterbacks is, when you push the ball down the field, there is some risk to it, of course, but, the ability to draw penalties, to draw pass interferences, which is exactly what the Broncos did to get into field goal range. Of course, the controversial was it a catch? Was it an interception? No one knows. Played a very big role in this one. And, I think on the inverse side of things, the big storyline is, Josh Allen did not have a great game for Josh Allen standards at all. And in a 3-point game, this was decided by a field goal in overtime. Josh Allen committed 3 turnovers in this one of which was right before the end of the first half, and Denver was able to tack on 3 points before halftime. Had that play not happened, this was a 3-point game in the end. Who knows what happens if he doesn't commit that turnover towards the end of the game. And of course, a big development from this one was Sean McDermott fired out as the Buffalo head coach from this one. So a lot of turnover in Buffalo and a lot to talk about with Buffalo coming out of this one, going into a new stadium and a new era of Buffalo Bills football, we'd think.
Yeah, and I like Sean McDermott. I really, really do. I think the idea, though, Buffalo, if they're going to be half the team or hopefully a better team that they think in the future, they better get somebody that Josh Allen's comfortable with. And who isn't that opportunity than Joe Brady?
Yeah.
Why not? And at the end of the day, regardless, it doesn't matter about the hire, but I think, it just hurts. I mean, Josh Allen was literally crying in his post-game conference because he knows how heart-reckoning this is. And you know what? In the NFL, the playoffs, they're pretty dicey this year, man, with the defensive calls and all these things. Let these guys play, yada, yada, yada. Well, there's no what if in sports. There's just someone wins and someone loses. And sadly, Josh Allen's been on that in the end of the stick, and he is my favorite quarterback to watch in the NFL. But the man hasn't been able, and it's not just him, because again, there's no I in team, there's OEAM, and at the end of the day, all 11 people and all 3 facets of the game needs to be better. That defense needs to get better, and they need to get him a wide receiver. You could see that once Dawson Knox, once all these people, only had a couple people, they lost Josh Allen, and he turned over the ball. But for Denver, they were finding a way to minimize their opportunities. James Cook looked good in the first half, and then he started getting very slow like a wall, and he ran into a lot of walls when I remember watching that game. And I think to answer your question, quarterbacks get judged on their stats of winning and losing. Obviously, touchdowns, interceptions, whatever, yes. But winning and losing matters to them the most, and that's what they get judged on. And right now, Josh Allen's a great quarterback, but he's not a quarterback that has gone to a Super Bowl, and he hasn't gone past the AFC Championship at most.
Yeah. It's crazy. If you just look at the Josh Allen Wikipedia or Pro Football Reference, I mean, you just look at it and it's divisional loss, championship loss, divisional loss. I mean, he and this Bills team just can't get over the hump for whatever reason. And the big storyline was, hey, the guys who have knocked you out previously, Burrow one time and Mahomes the other gazillion times, are not in this postseason. And then in Denver, which was a very winnable game, Buffalo was in control at many points in this game, and he commits 3 turnovers. And I get that the turnovers were third quarter and earlier, and he didn't really commit any down the stretch. But, in playoff football, there's such a small margin for error, and even if it's the first drive of the game or whatever it may be, these catch up with you. And in what was a razor-close game, if one of those turnovers isn't committed, we might be talking about the Buffalo Bills going to New England this weekend. But that's not the reality. And I think a lot of the playoff losses we've seen Josh Allen have, we have said this wasn't on Allen. in this one, I think we can, like, the Buffalo defense got the ball. They gave up 33 points in the end, but that was off 3 turnovers that the Bills put them in, bad scoring in bad positions. The Bills offense did, Josh Allen specifically. The run game was there. The defense, outside of when the corner went down and the Broncos were kind of targeting Dane Jackson, the backup corner for the Bills, like, the defense played a pretty good game. It really, you look at this and it kind of just felt like this was on Josh Allen, and it was on Sean McDermott, who's obviously not there anymore. I mean, the decision with 19 seconds or whatever it was and no timeouts to try and go get points before half, and then that leads to Josh Allen turning the ball over, and that was 3 points for Denver. That was a 10-point swing before the half for Denver. That played a huge difference in this game. So, yeah, you want to put the blame on Josh Allen for turning the ball over, but how about his head coach for putting him in that position too? I think from the 2 leaders of this team, the head coach and the quarterback, both kind of felt the pressure when it mattered most, and it ended up costing the Bills, and it ended up costing them their season.
It did. And if Josh Allen has ever been gutted, sorry for the moving cameras.
You're good.
We're coming in and out. If any game has costed them the most, it's going to be this one where Josh Allen, he says he's going to remember this one for a long time. And at the end of the day, he knows he needed to play better. Like you said, the idea off of what he knows as a quarterback, not to be able to get these turnovers, all these things, there's a lot of things that these quarterbacks, and I'm going to put this, and I know it's kind of irrelevant, but it's like, look at, Joe Burrow hasn't gone to a Super Bowl in a minute. Lamar Jackson hasn't. These quarterbacks. Exactly.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they haven't gone back to where they need to be. I hope Josh Allen goes, but right now what it's looking like Jim Kelly in the 90s. At least he went to a Super Bowl. He's got that, and he's went to 4. But they were 0-4. 0-4. And with this Bills Mafia's team, they are so true. I really root for these dudes. But it's the same old story. And this time it was a different team. And they weren't red. They were orange. So,
yeah,
at the end of the day, that's what it is.
It's tough, and for the Bills, new head coach, we'll see, is Joe Brady going to be the guy? Do they promote from within? Do they bring someone elsewhere? The Buffalo run defense was an issue this year, but their pass defense was about as good as there was in the NFL. Joe Brady's really made this run game. James Cook was towards the top of the league in rushing, and obviously we know what Josh Allen does. But at the end of the day, Josh Allen is a physical quarterback. We saw him get beat up in these playoffs. He came out of that Jacksonville wildcard game with like 4 different injuries to the knee, to the head, to the foot. And it's like we know that these mobile quarterbacks that play physically, like, the prime doesn't last as long as the pocket passers. And that's just a reality. And Josh Allen might look like Superman right now, and he's looked like Superman the last 7-8 years, but that's no guarantee he's going to continue to be Superman. And it sucks when you see a all-time great, like, caliber player, and just the playoff success hasn't been there. And that's something we judge quarterbacks on. I mean, we talk about the all-time great quarterbacks, and you go through the list, and the only one that usually doesn't have like a ton of playoff like experience or playoff success is Dan Marino. Everyone else, Montana, Brady, Manning, Rodgers, Mahomes, go down the list, all won in the postseason, and Josh Allen just hasn't. But the story of this game was the Denver Broncos, and on the back of a backup quarterback, they're going to have to beat a New England team, and we'll talk about New England in a bit, but let's get to the game that I'm dreading talking about the most, but we got to show some flowers to the 1 seed on the other end of the bracket, and that's the Seattle Seahawks, who at home take down the 49ers 41-6, one of the worst defeats in the Kyle Shanahan era, one of the worst playoff defeats in 49er history, and the Seahawks just from the jump, opening kickoff, Rashid Shaheed, and it just felt like from that point on, the Niners didn't stand a chance. It felt like a heavyweight fighting a featherweight in this one.
This is you, Joe. You talk about what you saw here.
Well, I'll tell you what, I talked about this to you last week, and to me, I felt like at some point the wheels were going to fall off with this team. Just the amount of injuries. It's just hard when you get injured that many times, no matter how good of a coaching staff you have and how good of leadership you have in the locker room. It's really hard to keep the boat afloat, and I think they just ran into a Seattle team that kind of crushed their hopes immediately. Like if you're going to put away a team like the 49ers, you got to jump on them quick. And that opening kickoff by Shaheed, the Niners have early turnover on downs, turnover, Jake Tonjes fumbles, and it's just all of a sudden this game's out of hand. It's like 17-0 in the blink of an eye, and against an elite defense like Seattle, you can't go down. You have to keep the game within striking distance against elite defenses, and the Niners weren't able to do that against Seattle, and that was a big issue. That was a very, very big issue from the jump, and it just felt like, this wasn't a Brock Purdy issue, and it didn't really feel like you could point one finger at anyone on the Niners. It just felt like they were outmatched, and, we'll talk about the Texans in a bit, but when you have an elite defense like this, all the offense has to do is just not mess up, not turn the ball over. That's kind of the reason the Texans lost to New England. Like I said, we'll talk about that in a bit, but Sam Darnold and the offense did enough. They possessed the ball, they ran the ball, they took advantage of short fields, and the Seattle defense and special teams, which are both cream of the crop in the NFL this year, made this the 41-6 game that it was.
Yeah. Let me ask you, what could the 49ers done better?
Don't let the kick returner house it, offer it. Like I think from that point on, it was dead. I mean, how loud the home field is in Seattle, you give them a reason to get loud and get into the game that early. You already put your offense down 7-0 off rip, and this is a Niners special teams unit that's been really good throughout the course of the season. But when you commit a mistake like that and you allow a special teams touchdown on the very first play of the game, it is so psychologically, especially when you're the road team, it's so hard to come back from that. And the Niners were so undermanned as it was, you can't afford it. So I honestly think 13 seconds into the game when that happened, it was done from that point on, in my opinion.
Do you think the Seattle Seahawks are willing to go to this distance? What do you think is this defense? I mean, the 49ers are a well-coached team. I mean, if you have to say, is it part of the coaching, or do you feel like it's more that the players just didn't listen, or the game plan, you feel like it was more off of what they needed to do as a whole?
I just genuinely think the 49ers were outgunned. Like, I watched this game, and you look at the Seattle defense, and they are so elite up front. Ernest Jones is such a good captain at linebacker, and in the secondary, they've got straight ball hawks who also hit you. I just think it was undermanned, and I think we saw this in week 18, right? The reason it wasn't a 35-point margin of victory for Seattle in that one was because that one was in San Francisco, so you don't have the home crowd to feed off of. And that one, Seattle missed 2 field goals. It felt like they were making mistakes in that game. That week 18 game shouldn't have been a 10-point victory. It should have been more than that. I think when you play a game in your home field, you get the crowd into it immediately, you jump on the team, this is what happens. And I think that the Niners, they've defied all the odds. And at this point, they were playing with house money. I'm a 49er fan. I've watched a lot of playoff losses in my lifetime. I can tell you that. This was the least painful one, in my opinion, because you just knew, like, from the jump, that even though I can't stand Seattle, you just knew from the jump this team is just better than the 49ers. Sometimes it's just the 11 guys you got on the field versus the 11 guys on the opposite end of the field. It's as simple as that sometimes in football. And I watched that game, and it felt like in no phase of the game were the 49ers better than Seattle. And that was an issue. The way you beat Seattle is you get Sam Darnold antsy, you get him off his rhythm. In the 49ers, they've lost all their pass rushers. They just don't have the pass rusher, the defense, this current defense, maybe when they're healthy they can, but this current defense to shake Sam Darnold. So when you keep Sam Darnold clean, you keep him in rhythm, this is how it's going to happen. Seattle's not going to give the ball to you, and their defense and special teams is going to do the rest.
I like Sammy D a lot, man, but I want to say this. He is, I don't know if people are going to be, I don't know, whoever's watching. Hi, how are you? I think Sam Darnold got an A+ on this project without doing much.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, and the idea off of this, that was Kenneth Walker's best game of his career. By far.
Yeah.
What he was able to do with the talent they have now. I don't know how much this impacts them, but it might impact them on rotation-wise. Zach Charbonnet is hurt. He won't be playing next week. Okay, so Kenneth Walker's still got to get these carries. He's still got to do these things. I don't know if he's a 30, 40-plus back care type of guy. I don't think personally. That man has been dealing with a lot of injuries, and I know we're getting straight away from it, but this guy had 19 carries. Going forward, let me ask you off this rushing defense. Did you feel like Seattle was going to run the ball as the game plan already going into this game, or did you feel like they were going to pass it? I mean, majority-wise, obviously the run game was the bread and butter, because at the end of the day, if they left the ball in Sam Darnold's hands, maybe the San Francisco 49ers had more of a shot at winning this game.
Yeah, but I think when you jump out to a 17-0 lead or 10-0, whatever, when you jump out to a lead that quickly, you're not putting pressure on an opposing quarterback. You're just asking the team to run the ball, right? Because that's what you do when you're up big in a game, especially early. And also, I mean, we remember the week in Seahawks-Rams NFC Championship. We remember that their first matchup. Sam Darnold threw 4 picks in that game in their very first matchup against the Rams. Since then, Seattle has drastically been running the ball more, right? They were already a run-first offense, Kubiak, Shanahan tree, that's the bread and butter. But they have, since that game, they have not trusted Sam Darnold the way they did earlier in the year when Sam Darnold was having some of his more prolific passing games. And I think it's been evident since then. In this Week 18 game between these two teams, Seattle ran the ball like hell. In this one, they ran the ball like hell. I think that's they recognize that's their path to winning games, is they know that they have a little bit of a loose end at quarterback who, when he's on, he looks great, but he can get rattled sometimes, and Seattle's O-line isn't great. They aren't awful. They're a middle-of-the-pack unit. So when you run the ball a lot, it just allows your quarterback to ease into the game more. You said it, Charbonnet. This is an issue. This has been a 1-2 punch all year, and Charbonnet has been especially their short yardage and their goal line back. And is Kenneth Walker going to be able to do that? Because Kenneth Walker, as good of an athlete as he is, no running back in the NFL has more -4, -5 yard gains the way he just dances behind the line. And sometimes he breaks these big 30, 40-yarders, and sometimes he just dances behind the line of scrimmage and tries too much. Charbonnet's there, downhill, get the dirty yards. So we'll see how it affects him long term, but this has been a run-first team ever since that Sam Darnold collapse against LA Week 11, whenever that was, and that's going to be their path to beating the Rams,
This is what I want to say. My last 2 suggestions. There's going to be one for the Niners and one for the Seahawks. We'll start with the Niners first. Where does it go next? What do they need to go do? Obviously, they need to get healthy. That's what I'm going to say. They need to get healthy, please, for the love of God. And they need to move their practice facility or something away from that power plant, because, man, oh man, it doesn't matter where they touch, electric shock, magnetics, their bodies cannot handle it. And they need to go find maybe another weapon, and they need to go defensively. Defensively, they need to get back to the basics of what they've done best. But that's mostly health. That's mostly health. If they get healthy, they will be scary.
For sure. I mean, the Niners draft class this year, they drafted their slot cornerback, their nickel back, Upton Stout. He's been phenomenal for them. They drafted Alfred Collins in the second, CJ West in the fourth. Those are their 2 D tackles who both actually played really good games against Seattle. So I think defensively they were young, but a lot of the young guys showed a lot of promise this year. I think in this game it was pretty evident that the corner spot outside of Lenore probably needs an upgrade. You said it, though. They need another weapon on this offense. McCaffrey, it is unsustainable giving him the ball this many times. It would be a miracle if McCaffrey had another 17-game season next year, just how much he carried the ball this year. And if he does have a 17-game season, he will not be nearly as productive as he was this year. And I think Ricky Pearsall is a phenomenal wide receiver, but he has shown an inability to stay healthy. His rookie year, he got shot before the year. No one can ever predict that type of thing. I understand it. But This year, he's been battling a knee injury since week 3, and it was a knee injury that was holding him out of the wild card game, the Week 18 game against Seattle. That was an injury that initially happened week 3. He has shown an inability to stay healthy, and I think when he's healthy, he is a great separator, but it's clear Ayuk is off the grid. He's racing in front of Levi's Stadium, so he's not going to be coming back anytime soon. Demarcus Robinson, Kendrick Bourne, do those guys move the needle? No. I think it's very, very clear with McCaffrey aging, Kittle coming off of an Achilles, this offense desperately needs another wide receiver. Is that through the draft? Is that through free agency, getting a guy like Alec Pierce? I don't know, but you said it. You could tell in this Seattle game that they were just, especially their offense versus Seattle's defense, just receivers weren't getting open. It was Purdy running for his life, and the receivers weren't helping him. It felt like the only person that could get open was Jake Tonjes, and he was the dude who fumbled on the second or third possession of the game. So it's an issue. It's an issue.
There are 3 players that can make a difference to this roster if they stay healthy and what they can do for this team.
Yeah.
A.J. Brown is one.
Yeah.
I know it's personality. I know you're like, I hate divas.
Yeah.
Well, let's remind yourself. You've had T.O. You've had a lot of divas in that Cardinal, or no, that red and gold. You've also have another player that could change them as well. He's on my team right now. If we don't throw a bag, you better be knocking on that door, because George Pickens could be a game changer for the Niners as well.
Yeah.
And I also think Alec Pierce. I know this one might be crazy, but I'm going to say it anyways. It depends on how healthy he comes back, but those injuries, when they happen, they happen. And the extra special one, what does Tyreek Hill have left in the tank?
That one's interesting.
What does he have left in the tank? Because this could be a team where Tyreek Hill could go and make a splash if he has anything left in the tank. And if it's not him, then he probably goes out Falcons. But now, that's what I want to hear. I want to hear the next part and my suggestions, because I know we got the next couple games left. But I want to say off of this, for Seattle, and I want to hear you, and I know you hate the Seahawks. I know you hate them just as much as the Rams. Probably more the Seahawks, though. But right here, does Sam Darnold, does he buy himself a contract, even if he gets to a Super Bowl? Even if he gets to one?
I don't see. He's on a 3-year deal, so he's got 2 more years left with Seattle, and it's a deal that the way it's structured is very easy for Seattle to bail out of. I just don't see, whether they lose in the NFC Championship or win a Super Bowl, you get this far in your season, despite how shaky it's been, it's hard to stomach moving off of a quarterback, especially because it would be their 3rd quarterback in 3 years. That's never ideal for an organization and for continuity's sake. So I think no matter what, unless he just has a historic CJ Stroud, hint, hint, foreshadowing, collapse in the NFC Championship, which he had against the Rams earlier in the year, so who knows. He's in a 3-year deal, so I don't see why the Seahawks wouldn't just ride it out for at least another year. But, what you said about the Niners, the A.J. Brown one and the George Pickens one worries me a little bit, because you just dealt with the Ayuk stuff. So I think the Niners front office just wants a wide receiver that will shut up and not cause any drama off the field. And, A.J. Brown and Pickens are both crash outs in their own lovable ways. So I don't know if that happens. Tyreek is interesting. He's not exactly a quiet guy off the field either, but, Miami, new head coach, new GM, they might be looking to move ways from him and a little bit of a rebuild. So that one I could see. But, the big thing is the Niners, this was supposed to be a cap reset year for them, right? No one expected them to get this far, especially with the injuries. That's why I said this is the least painful playoff loss I've ever watched the Niners, just because it didn't feel like they were ever meant to get it to be this far. So it's just playing with house money at that point. The reason this was a cap reset year is to set themselves up for future years. They have draft picks and they have a lot of cap space to work with. So that gives them some flexibility to go, hey, maybe we were thinking this was going to be a 2-3 year mini rebuild, but what we've seen this year from our head coach and what we've seen this year from number 13 at quarterback is we have a head coach quarterback duo that we can build off of for years to come. We know that. So now we can spend some picks and spend some cap space and really revamp this team. So I think this year, take the injuries aside, was a really good year for the Niners, because it just showed they're closer to getting back to a Super Bowl than we ever could have imagined coming into this year. Seattle, though, it's clear they're the now. The Niners might be the future in a year or two. Seattle is the now. They have a lot of veterans on that defense who are looking to win a Super Bowl now, and I think this is a prime opportunity to. And, we'll talk Texans-Patriots here in a second, but Seahawks-Rams, these two teams, and we'll talk Bears-Rams a little later, many people think whoever wins this NFC Championship will eventually win the Super Bowl. Just because of Jarrett Stidham in the AFC, in New England, people, it's still kind of hard to buy in. They haven't had a solidifying, pretty win in the postseason or down the stretch yet. So, This is the time for Seattle to go get, what is it, their second or third ring. This is the time right now.
Will be their second ring because they would have had a third ring, but Malcolm Butler said, "Hell no, Russell Wilson. You want to throw the ball on the 1 yard line? I promise you, you don't want to." And they did. And
Yep.
Pete Carroll probably still thinks about that, even as old as he is. Man, if I just went back and just ran the ball with Marshawn Lynch, maybe I'd still be in Seattle.
Yeah, for sure. And
Anyways,
there's a possibility we get a rematch of that Super Bowl too. There is a world where Seahawks Patriots is this Super Bowl. Also could be Seahawks Broncos, which was the Seahawks one ring in which they demolished Peyton Manning and the Broncos with a very, very elite defense similar to the defense that Seattle has now. So this is the time. I can't stand Seattle. I can't stand the Seahawks, but you have to give a team props where it's due. And this defense and this special teams unit and this run game is just killing teams right now, and it has all year. So let's move on to perhaps the greatest playoff quarterback collapse we have ever seen, and we'll give the Patriots their love, but we need to talk C.J. Stroud and the Texans. The Patriots get it done against them 28-16. C.J. Stroud, 4 interceptions, which I didn't think it was possible for him to have a worse game than he did against Pittsburgh the week before. Me and you, 1 week ago tonight, talked about C.J. Stroud. This Texans team can win a Super Bowl. All you have to do is not mess up, and it felt like he wanted to mess up as much as possible in this game. This is not looking good for the outlook of C.J. Stroud and this Texans offense for years to come, and really wasting a prime year to win a Super Bowl with a defense that's as good as Seattle's, in my opinion.
And it's hard to really get a roster back. It really is.
Yeah.
Every season, you're not going to get the same roster. There's going to be guys that leave. There's going to be guys that, get hurt. There's going to be guys that retire. There's going to be guys, a lot of things, This might be crazy to say, but I'm going to say it anyways because I like to do dramatic effect. That might be the Texans' only chance in the next couple of years. That might be the Texans' only chance. And at the end of the day, C.J. Stroud, he's been erratic these past 2 years. The guy's chased his rookie season. I don't know what it is with the pressure. I don't know if it's his weapons, what he needs. C.J. Stroud does not look like he has developed into the quarterback that he should be right now.
Yep.
And I know it's hard. I know, as a rookie you start, but you realize with these defenses that you see year in, year out, you're going into what? Year 4, no?
Yep.
Yeah, year 4.
Yep.
You should be able to understand, okay, if I take a sack, I take a sack. But if I take a sack and try to throw out of his sack and my receiver's not there, and the defender's there, 80% of the time there's going to be an interception coming your way or some type of turnover. Every single time he throws, when he's about to get sacked, it looks like he is going to make a mistake. We saw it. We saw it with this game.
Yeah.
He could not do anything right. He looked like he was spooked. I told you that in a text message. I literally said this on Instagram. I'm going to let you know, Instagram. I texted Joe. Stroud is spooked.
Yeah.
Stroud does not. He doesn't look like himself. And maybe if that's himself, I feel bad for the man. He's Cali, born and raised here. He understands football. But at the end of the day, sometimes it fizzles out. And I think, I don't know if it would have done any better, but I would have just gave Davis Mills a shot. Why not? What do you have to lose when you have 4 picks? You come back in and you almost throw 5, towards another pass. Like there were some good drives, but all those reasons why, and I know the defense for the Patriots are really solid. I'm not going to take anything away from New England. New England has a lot riding high on them. I know I haven't talked about it much. The Patriots could be going on to a Super Bowl. They could be the story of the year. And I know you want them to win the Super Bowl because you don't like the Rams. You don't like the Seahawks. So you want, most likely, the Patriots to win this thing because Drake May, as a rookie, or no.
Second year guy.
No, second year.
Second year guy, yeah.
I always think this. See, I always get confused. It doesn't matter. Rookie, second year, you're young, buddy. And this shouldn't happen your second year, but you know what? It's happening. So he has brought himself. Coach Vrabel's a dog, and you know what? I got to give this. The Texans, D'Amico Ryans is an amazing coach, but he has to understand if my quarterback's not doing something, we have to have a major talk. We have to have a major talk, and it better happen because, or else, they will shortly be some more heartbreak losses. And that's terrible to say, but it's the truth. So at the end of the day, what I'm going to say this. The Texans need to figure it out. CJ Stroud lost himself. And I'm going to say this last thing I'll say, Joe. And I'm losing my voice because maybe CJ Stroud's trying to get back to me. CJ Stroud lost himself when Tank Dell got injured. He lost himself that day.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been the same since.
That's a good call. I mean, people forget that Tank Dell was looking like he was going to have such a bright future with this football team. I mean, a year ago, we were talking about at the beginning of the 2024 season, it was Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs. And then you look in this playoff game, Stephon Diggs is on the other side. Tank Dell's still recovering from his injury from last year. Nico Collins is out with a concussion. Dalton Schultz goes down with a calf injury early in the game. To me, what it looked like in this one was CJ Stroud was trying to be a superhero because all of his weapons were down. That's what it looked like. And the reason I'm such a Brock Purdy truther is because Brock Purdy doesn't try to play like a player he isn't. He's a gunslinger, but that's how he's always played. He plays within his skill set. And you said it on the pod last week, he's mastered his offense. CJ Stroud, it just felt like he was playing out of his skill set. He's not this uber athletic guy, right? It felt like he was trying to make these superhero plays because he was down Dalton Schultz. He was down his tight end 2. He was down Nico Collins. And it was like playing with a bunch of young guys and Christian Kirk. And it just didn't look, the Texans offense, that's not like a offense capable of winning playoff games. But here's the bottom line, is you have as good of a defense as there is. We're talking about what Seattle just did to San Francisco. This Houston defense, we have seen them do this exact same thing that Seattle did to the Niners this week to other teams throughout the season. And the reason that New England scored 28 points wasn't because of the Houston defense, right? It was because the offense kept putting them in horrible positions. One of the Patriots touchdowns was a pick 6 to Marcus Jones. So the Texans defense only gave up 21 points, and that was with working with short fields because C.J. Stroud was turning the ball over so much. He's been chasing rookie season C.J. Stroud. And, Bobby Sloak was their offensive coordinator, and they got rid of him after last year. And I get last year the Texans offense wasn't great, but it felt like getting rid of the offensive coordinator that was responsible for C.J. Stroud's success as a rookie really derailed his development quite a bit, right? Jaden Daniels, rookie season, phenomenal. But what do people say after a phenomenal rookie season? They don't say, oh, wow, this guy's already like atop. It's like, wow, the future's bright. Because if he's already this good, imagine how he'll be in a couple years. And CJ Stroud, that's what we were saying after 2023. Was exactly what we were saying. They've been to the wild card round 3 straight years. They've won in the wild card round 3 straight years. And then they've lost in the divisional round 3 straight years. Right? It's just an inability to get past this hump, right? In the last 2 years, last year it was against Kansas City, who ended up winning the AFC. The year before that, I forget who they lost to in the divisional round, but it was another very good team, to my knowledge. This year, this was a New England team. They could have beat this team. And in this game, they were in this game from the jump. And it was these turnovers and this inability to work with your defense. When you're a quarterback like C.J. Stroud, and I get it, you're trying to be a superhero, make plays for your offense, but you have a defense that's good. If the drive ends in a kick, that's great. Whether it's a field goal, a punt, whatever. Because if you're punting to the other team and you're putting them on the other end of the field, you can trust that your defense is going to get the ball back for you. If the Patriots go down the field and score, you know what? They're going to really have to earn it. And they did today. When the Patriots scored on offense, they had to earn it. The one touchdown that was crazy, Kayshon Boutte, the one-handed grab on the right corner of the end zone, unbelievable. But that's what
the year for the Patriots.
That was amazing. But that's how you have to score on this Texans defense. You can't score normally. You can't march down the field. You have to make superhero plays to score on this defense. And the offense ruined it for them. Straight up, they ruined it for him, and it ruined a prime position. Because let's say Houston wins this game, right? They're going to Denver. They're playing Jarrett Stidham. Do you want to see Jarrett Stidham against this Houston Texans defense? That would be murder on live television. And then you're going to the Super Bowl with the potential to play Sam Darnold, who's a guy who does not handle a good pass rush. So all of a sudden, we're looking at, the path for the Texans to make their first conference championship, to make their first Super Bowl was there. and it was just an abysmal performance by C.J. Stroud. There's no other person to point the finger to than C.J. Stroud in this one. And I get heated about it because you know how much I've talked so highly of this Houston Texans defense, right? And all you have to do is not mess up. And he didn't mess up once. He didn't mess up twice. He messed up 4 times. Actually, more times than that, but he just turned the ball over 4 times. You cannot do that in a playoff game. Ran over.
It was like 8. I think it was like 8 times. I counted it. I was like, bro, this is bad.
I got to get my heart rate down. Let me say this. Let's give, on the other hand, the New England Patriots, what Mike Vrabel has done in year 1 is nothing short of remarkable. Drake May didn't have a great game, but he was dealing with pressure the entire game, right? And that was the case in the Chargers game before him. This New England defense, they play like some psychos out there. They send some wild, exotic blitzes at quarterbacks. And I think Jarrett Stidham is in for a hell game in Mile High because Mike Vrabel is familiar with Jarrett Stidham. Josh McDaniels is familiar with Jarrett Stidham. And the way that this defense had Justin Herbert spooked and the way they had C.J. Stroud spooked for a quarterback making his first start in a couple of years in the AFC Championship, I think this New England defense is going to send some wild blitzes at him. And I think it's going to make for a really interesting game. How does Sean Payton help his inexperienced quarterback handle these wild blitzes and these wild fronts? You know, New England, people don't talk about it. They have maybe the best cornerback duo in the NFL, Carlton Davis on one end and Christian Gonzalez on another end. Those are 2 lockdown corners, not to mention one of the best slot cornerbacks in the league, Marcus Jones. I think this Patriots defense is legit. And Drake May, it hasn't been pretty throughout the playoffs, but he's been dealing with a lot. And if they can lean on the run game and hit the deep balls like they did to Kayshon Boutte and they do from time to time, Stephon Diggs had an unbelievable touchdown in this one. I think this Patriots team is a Super Bowl caliber team, in my opinion.
No, they are. And a couple people said, so I got a guy named Ryan in the chat. What's up, Ryan, for Instagram Live? So he says, should the Texans move on from CJ? I said, I say 1 more year. What do you say, Joe? I say 1 more year.
You know, it's easy to say a team should move on from a quarterback, but then let's say a team moves on from a quarterback. Is there someone better, right? Like, that's the thing, is who Davis Mills, I know Davis Mills played okay, but Davis Mills isn't your quarterback of the future. C.J. Stroud still has that, but they got to find some stability on offense like they had 2 years ago. And they haven't had that in 2 years. So I would say 1 more year, but I think the bigger question is he going to get his 5th-year extension? And after that game, I don't see how you can give it to him. I just don't.
No. And the next question, he said, can the Broncos sign a quarterback off the street to play in the AFC Championship game? See, yes, they could. They technically could. There are free agents. They could because in this scenario. But I think it'd be so hard for a quarterback to come in here, learn an offense, go in a big game, be able to handle all these people, handle all your guys, handle all this pressure, and be able to master that offense. Look, I got to give this, and I got to hope that Jarrett Stidham knows this offense very well. I got to hope that Jarrett Stidham can bring that confidence booster. And you know what? I have a 0.5% hope chance that he's going to do it. I'm not doubting the dude because it's hard. And I might even say this, all right? I'm even extend a leg. I say there's a 40% chance of probability that he might get it done. You know why? I want to hear why, Joe. I'll tell you why. In a 10-second recap, I'll just say it. Jarrett Stidham got drafted by New England. Jarrett Stidham played with some people on that team. I'm not saying all. Maybe, maybe not. I know for sure he played at least with 3. He knows the demeanor of the team. He obviously has tracked it. It's different head coach, different scenario. But if Mike Vrabel played under Bill Belichick, if Jarrett Stidham played under Bill Belichick, then I know damn well he's going to understand what Mike Vrabel is going to want to throw at him. Yeah. But, then again, you have to not do too much. Do not do too much. Do not be a superhero. If you're being a superhero, it doesn't end well. And New England, we already saw one person who was a starting quarterback, who was experienced, who had the opportunity, who had a great defense. He threw it all away because he thought that he could save the day, and he did not. He did not do what and it doesn't matter who are we to say this, but I'm telling you, I'm going to say it because this man should have played within the scheme. Okay? But Jarrett Stidham might have a better chance.
If you look at the available quarterbacks right now, like the best one is CJ Beathard, right? It's not like we're talking about some like there's no Phillip Rivers situation here. It's too late for that. And if you watched after the Broncos game, Sean Payton, he had his press conference, found out about the Bo Nix injury and stuff, came back to the podium, told the reporter straight up, and immediately said Jarrett Stidham is our guy. And I think when you're this deep into a season, you got to trust the guy that knows the system, that can operate the system. Yep. Sean Payton's offense already is a ton of RPOs, a ton of screens, a ton of run game, right? J.K. Dobbins got his 21-day window open. There's a chance J.K. Dobbins comes back in. The Broncos' run game, right? R.J. Harvey's been a good running back for them, but it's been more the receiving and the outside zone stuff. J.K. Dobbins is their best runner in between the tackles. If he's back, if you commit to the screens and the RPOs and stuff, and Jarrett Stidham, one of his good traits coming out of college, coming out of Auburn, was he threw a good deep ball. And they do have some deep threats like Cortland Sutton on this team. I think Jarrett Stidham is the guy. Now, like you said, it's really going to come down to how does he handle the Mike Vrabel, Patriots, crazy blitz packages. That's to be determined. We'll find out on Sunday. If I had to put my money on one thing, I'd put my money on Vrabel getting the best of him, especially knowing he's got McDaniels in his ear, who's coached Jarrett Stidham for many, many years in New England and in Vegas.
And he knows his tendencies.
Exactly.
He knows him very well.
Exactly.
He knows him very well.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what I would say on that front, but that's what makes it so, we've seen this before. We saw it with Nick Foles back with that Eagles playoff run. Backup comes in, he understands the system very, very well, and all you have to do is execute it. That's all you have to do. And Sean Payton, he was calling a very good game against Buffalo, and I would expect he'll have a very good game plan for New England, especially with the Broncos having an extra day rest. They got to watch the Patriots play the day after they beat the Bills. So I think that's a factor. Zach, do you have anything on Patriots-Texans before we move on?
Yeah, look at you got to put some damn respect on this New England team. Yeah. Do not sleep on them anymore. They might mop the whole floor. They might surprise everybody. They might be those guys that we didn't even think they were those guys, but they are those guys. They've brought in it. And we thought it would have been a longer rebuild. It's not. And that's what the cool thing about the NFL is, so be aware. And I'm going to say it because I have a lot of Patriots fans in my ears. I have a lot of friends who are Pats fans. And you know what? The only time you're going to hear me say this is that, yes, the Patriots are legit contenders. And if they win the Super Bowl, I won't be surprised.
I agree.
That's all I want to say.
I'm in the same boat, and we'll talk about it as the week goes on. I think that this isn't a clear cut. Like there's one team of the four remaining that is like the best of the four. I think it's very matchup dependent. Like I like New England against the Seahawks. I don't like them against the Rams as much, just schematically. And I think I like the Broncos against the Rams a little more than I do the Seahawks. I think it's fascinating. This is a odd final, even though these are four teams that we've seen very much involved in Super Bowls and championship games over the last 20 years, especially in the early to mid 2010s. These are new eras, and you said it, this was a one-year rebuild. This was year one of Mike Vrabel. But I will remind people this, right? We said this about the Washington Commanders a year ago. Just because a team comes out of nowhere and it looks really bright in year one, right? The NFL, injuries, coaching changes, it changes so much year to year that there are no guarantees. When people say the future's bright for this team, that doesn't always mean something. Because people said that about the Commanders last year. Then they went all in on some older guys like Deebo Samuel, like Laramie Tunsil, and look what happened this year. And I want to segue that to the next team we're going to talk about, which is the Chicago Bears, who are in a very similar boat. They lose 20-17, unbelievable game, overtime. Caleb Williams just somehow, some way does it again. But what people are saying after this one, and rightfully so, year one under Ben Johnson. This was year two with Caleb Williams. They've got these promising rookies like Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, Rome Odunze's in year two. But we say this every year. The future's bright until it isn't, until you have an injury-plagued year or you lose coordinators, whatever it may be. So this could have been a good chance for the Bears. They had it in overtime. Caleb Williams, I want to put this out there. Unbelievable throw, willed the team to the win in the end. He committed 3 turnovers this game, and one of which was in overtime, and it was the costliest of them all. Gave Stafford and the Rams the chance to go drive down the field, kick the game-winning field goal. In overtime, the Rams win 20-17. Zach, what you got for me?
I've never felt for another team so heartbroken. I watched this at work. I got a flat screen right above my head. Every single time I help these customers at Dick's Sporting Goods. I love Caleb Williams. He is my second favorite quarterback. The man is crazy. He's a little careless with the ball. But he's a damn good winner.
For sure.
And the fact is, the Bears are back to what they're going to be. I do not think it's a one and done. I don't know if I can bet my whole house on that because I love my house. Love to sleep in my own bed. But I can bet that this is not done. Ben Johnson is one of the most mastermind of an offensive guru I've ever seen. And I've been high on him even since going into this. People thought I was crazy. They thought I was insane. They thought you're no good. Yes, Ben Johnson's great, but he's not. They're not gonna make it. They weigh noise. It's success. Yes, they didn't get to the NFC Championship. Boo-hoo. They will be back. They will be vengeful and they will be back. Caleb Williams will have an insane year 3 jump. If that's just year 2, you're expecting a sophomore slump. You're expecting somebody to, oh man, why did we draft this guy? Or he's going to be explosion. He just proved you why you drafted him. He is literally Chicago laminated.
Yeah.
He's gritty. And I know he didn't want to go at Chicago first, but who the hell wants to go to Chicago anyways? It hasn't been winning all the time. Okay, it hasn't. But he's there now, and he cares, and he's embracing your culture. So yes, what I got for you is this. In the game, he made one of the best throws a quarterback has ever made. And it was 26 yards past behind the line of scrimmage. This man was literally galloping. I do that in Madden. You see that in Madden, you're trying to avoid. This guy is literally boom, and he makes a stride like it was a perfect ball in motion, poetry in motion, and he threw it right on the money. Yes, heartbreaking interception. But, and I've said it once before, and I'm not going to defend him all the time because yes, there's been some bonehead interceptions. DJ Moore has seen his last day as a Chicago Bear.
Agreed.
I will bet you, and it becomes right there on that play. Not only does he jog, he is the most veteran wide receiver on the team. And you know what he does? Oh, this is clipping good because I know it's good. I'm going to flame this man. Not only does he don't go flattening out the route for a quarterback-friendly route that he's literally throwing you to the side, this man goes vertical. He lost them the game. Not anybody else. He lost them the game because he did not do his job. Period. It looked different on the film at first, but if you wind it back and you see it again, he was flattening him out. And if anybody, football player, or any sports knowledge people, they know that. DJ Moore cost him the game.
Yeah, what was crazy was DJ Moore was the weapon having the most success for the Bears in this game. You say DJ Moore's gone. I couldn't agree more. It's always felt destined. We see this when a head coach, Ben Johnson, came in this year, right? DJ Moore wasn't a Ben Johnson guy. DJ Moore was already with the Bears. Then Ben Johnson came in. Ben Johnson brought in Olamide Zaccheaus. He drafted Luther Burden. He drafted Colson Loveland. He drafted weapons that he wanted. And DJ Moore, it wasn't a very productive year. And it looked good in this game. You know, we're not in the meetings. We'll never know if DJ Moore was supposed to run that route flatter. That's what it looked like to me. That's what it looked like on the broadcast. Obviously, that's what you believe. We'll never know. But what I do know is this Bears team, the entire year, I said it last week when we were on this pod, the way they win games is unsustainable. You can't count on superhero heroics every single game in the end, right? And it almost happened again. I was going to come on the spot and be like, how do they keep winning this way? Caleb Williams hits this. But this is what I'll say, is they've been winning in Super Bowl fashion against these like teams.
Yeah.
But the teams who it hasn't worked against are the teams that are well coached. And the two teams that it hasn't worked against have been the 49ers and the Rams. Those are both games that the Bears, it looked like they were going to win it in the end and it didn't pan out. What's the common thing between the Niners and Rams? Shanahan, McVay, probably the top two coaches in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I want to give the Rams a lot of praise here. When that happens, right, one of the final plays in regulation, just an absolute miracle of a throw, right? Unbelievable, 40 yards, back foot, unbelievable. That's like a steak knife to the heart, dude. Like you don't recover from something like that. And for the Rams to show the fortitude to get a stop in overtime after they turned it over, or after they went 3 and out, to get a stop in overtime, to come down the field. Everyone's talking about the Caleb Williams story. You know what people aren't talking about? Matthew Stafford from the right hash throwing that out route to Devontae Adams on the left side. That throw was amazing. As tight of a window as there can be. Devontae Adams, unbelievable catch. He had an unproductive game up to that point, so for him to come through when it mattered most was unbelievable. The Rams, McVay, they're so well coached, and when it feels like all the momentum is with the home team and their home crowd in the snow, the team that plays in a dome in Los Angeles comes through, shows the fortitude in overtime. And this is why it's felt unsustainable for the Bears, because you can win these miracle comeback ways against teams that don't have a ton of resilience. But when you play these well-coached teams that have resilience, like the 49ers, like the Rams, it's not going to end up happening that way. And in reality, it was amazing that they got the game to overtime. The Bears missed so many fourth downs, right? They turned the ball over on downs at least 3 or 4 times in this game against the Rams, and it just felt like they had their opportunities to jump on the Rams in a game that the Rams offense was struggling, and the Bears defense, which has been an issue for them this year, was pitching a shutout for a lot of the game. They were playing unbelievable, and the offense could only score 17 points, and if it wasn't for that miracle touchdown, they were only scoring 10 points in this game, right? As much as I want to praise the Bears for this amazing, they found a way and the future's bright and everything, they had their opportunities to win this game. And they didn't. They flat out didn't. And that is something that, you know, I say this, I keep saying this, just because the future looks bright, it doesn't always mean it's going to be that way. For all we know, Caleb Williams could blow out his knee in week 3 next year. Or they could.
Don't put that out there.
I'm not trying to.
Please don't do that. Damn.
But
I know.
We saw Jaden Daniels in the Commanders, and the future looked so bright, and they mortgaged a lot of their future to go all in on this year. And then all of a sudden, Jaden Daniels has a bunch of injuries. Marshawn Lattimore tears his ACL. And all of a sudden, we're looking at it, and we're like, oh my gosh, the Commanders might be screwed. So when you have your opportunities to win in this league, you got to take them and not just be like, we're going to be there for the future. The Bears had their opportunities in this game, and they did not take them. So as much as I want to praise this team and praise Caleb Williams for that throw and everything, you threw 3 picks, dude, regardless of if they were on your receiver or what. You threw 3 picks. In this offense, until that miracle touchdown, scored 10 points when your defense had their best performance of the year against one of the most high-octane offenses in the league. So I don't want to hear this future is bright and stuff. The future could have been now, but it wasn't because you fumbled the game.
Yeah. No, and you're right. You look at. Yeah, thank you for a reality check, because you're right. At the end of the day, look. You better take your opportunity where it is, because look at Joe Burrow. I'm gonna go back to that again. I don't see you going to a Super Bowl with Cincinnati and Chicago. You better hope it's not no bad news Bears, because it's bad news right now, but it could be bad news for later. And at the end of the day, there was a lot of pieces in that team offensively last year for that team, and it wasn't good.
Yeah.
You know, now they have a difference. But I think with the Rams, I'm going to give them a lot of praise. Yes, of course, because they found a way to win without not needing Matthew Stafford to throw a touchdown pass. They found a way to win by a team stat that I'm looking right here to only running the ball 111 yards, rushing yards, 229 passing yards, and they had 4.4 yards per play.
Yep.
But their defense won them this game.
For sure.
Their defense came in here and they made a statement. Now are you? You have so much tape in this whole world against a team that can do something. But if you go to Lumen Field and you shutter yourself, more like yourself, there might be a difference. Okay? You better have your revenge game come out.
For sure.
This better mean something because the NFC West will remember this. The world will remember this.
Yep.
You don't get a chance to go to Seattle and have an NFC championship game. You don't get all these things. You make it now. That's what I want to leave it to. Matthew Stafford, you got your ring. This one would cement everything. This one would cement who you are as a person. And if I'm thinking this, if he gets himself to the Super Bowl, he wins, you leave. Retire. Retire on top and prove to people, yeah, I'm 37 years old, but I just kicked every single team in the NFL's butt. So now, prove it. Prove it that this team's the best. And Sean McVay, prove why you are possibly the best coach in the NFL. You have to prove it.
You do.
Because Seattle's defense is disgusting.
I want to say we watched on Thursday night late in the season, right? The Rams ended up losing that game. It took a crazy Seattle comeback, right? Matthew Stafford had 450 yards in that game on this Seattle defense that is just causing nightmares for everyone, right? And in that game, he didn't have Devontae Adams. He does have Devontae Adams now. Obviously, you've still got Puka Nacua, but I do want to say this. The Rams, I said it, I put the clip on social media, and I had Rams fans coming from my head. I didn't know there was that many Rams fans out there. And I said the Rams haven't looked right. And against Carolina last week.
You haven't.
Against Carolina last week, the offense put up a lot of points. It wasn't like a consistent game, but the offense did their part and scored points last week. The defense didn't show up against a Carolina offense that isn't some world-class unit. And then this week, you're facing a very, very susceptible Bears defense. And the offense doesn't have a good performance. So right now, it just feels like the Rams, the opportunities, both these games, I feel like they could have won by double-digit points against Carolina and against Chicago. But last week it was the defense, and now this week it's the offense in matchups that were looking better for both those units. So, against Seattle, you can't afford to have one unit playing good and one unit not. You got to play a complete game because as we saw, the Niners special teams unit did not come out good against Seattle, and it was done from that point on, right? You're going to Lumen Fields. That still sounds so wrong to me. I still think of it as CenturyLink Field. You're going to Seattle to play in against this loud home crowd that has a ton of juice, and if one of your units isn't sharp off the rip, the game is going to be over because that home crowd and the way that defense feeds off of a lead it's not going to pay dividends. So it's a fascinating matchup. The Rams offense has been really the only one to have success against Seattle this year. I'm really excited for it. And honestly, I can't stand the fact that the NFC is going to be represented by the Rams or Seahawks, my two least favorite teams. But I will say this. If Chicago did win this game, they were not beating Seattle. They're just not. The way that game, Seattle's probably 7.5 point favorites in that game. So for the sake of the NFL product, I think we are getting the best matchup possible for the NFC Championship, and it's going to be a fun one. Now, really quickly to end things off, Zach, some coaching news. Dolphins hire Jeff Hafley. Titans hire Robert Saleh. Sean McDermott, we talked a little bit about him getting fired. John Harbaugh to the Giants, and then some other coaching vacancies to be filled in the upcoming days. Do you have anything of note for any of those you want to talk about really quickly here at the end of things?
I do. I think Robert Saleh is going to redeem himself. I think, F New York. Screw New York.
Yeah.
Screw everything about New York.
Yeah.
They didn't give this man justice.
Yeah.
You didn't give him enough things. Tennessee might. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And, wow, someone said in the comments, this is crazy. Don't kick the ball to Rashid Shaheed.
Don't kick it out the back of the end zone. Kick it out the back of the end zone. Don't even try it. Don't even try it. The second I saw him get a head of steam, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, dude, don't do it.
Yeah, no, it's true. But yes, Robert Saleh is going to change Tennessee Titans. He's going to change the culture. Okay. I haven't talked enough about Cameron Ward. Everyone was like, why on the Cameron Ward? Why don't you like him? I'm like, I'm not saying I don't like him. He just needs to grow. Okay.
For sure.
That whole team needs to grow. But they found the guy to do it. Get this guy that can bring the juice for a defensive team to where, look it, I'm going to give this. If he makes these moves and scenarios, this could be much like a Texans team. They could be dogs on defense. They could be this and that. And if he makes moves, I'm not saying this year, but the year after, if they find a way, I mean, Cam Ward will grow.
Yep.
Now for Jeff Hadley,
We'll see.
that's more of an unproven question.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the Packers, and I'm laughing because I'm holding laughs because I like Jeff Hadley. I think he's going to bring some characteristics. Bro, but that whole second half of the season, that defense was garbage.
It was.
Sorry. You are garbage. And at the end of the day, you're a D coordinator. Yes, people are hurt, Joe. I get that, man.
Yeah.
But you're still your job is still to be competent. You could have won a playoff game. You had it. Why in the hell did you let Chicago come back? That's all I have to say. Now he needs to figure out with a hell show in Miami.
Yeah.
That one team is just a roller coaster, and I don't know how he's going to do it.
It's a multi-year rebuild in Miami for sure. I mean, they're going to have to strip it to the studs. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 players on that roster that I think are building blocks. I think the guys like Tyreek and Tua and Bradley Chubb, like these like aging guys, you got to get them out of here. And this is going to be a multi-year rebuild, which is what they need. I do like Jeff Hadley from a schematic point of view, and in terms of a head coach. He was, before he came to Green Bay as the DC, he was the Boston College head coach, right?
Yep.
So he does, college and NFL head coaching, very different things, but in terms of the leadership aspect of things, he already knows what he's doing in that aspect. And, I thought it makes a lot of sense. The Dolphins guy they hired as their GM came from the Packers front office, so this was kind of to be expected that he would bring a Packers guy with him that he was familiar with. As for Robert Saleh, devastated as a 49er fan that they're going to have to find a defensive coordinator, because outside of Saleh and DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator carousel in San Francisco hasn't been great in recent years. But for Tennessee, I like it. For Saleh's sake, it worries me a little bit, because to me, I thought Saleh was the perfect coach for like a Ravens or a Bills, in which the team already has a lot of talent and Saleh can come in and be a leader. This Tennessee team, Cam Ward had some moments of excellence this year, crazy off target, like off balance throws and stuff. But in rhythm, he didn't look great this year. And the weapons were not ideal for him either. So it's going to take the front office helping Saleh out a lot too. I have faith in him to elevate that Titans defensive unit. Offensively is a whole nother story, and that's to be seen if he's going to be able to do that. I thought for Saleh's sake, now I don't know if he was going to be able to get a job at one of these places, but I thought Baltimore or Buffalo would have been perfect, because the rosters and the quarterbacks are already set, and he was going to be good. Now he's going into a similar, not as bad of an organization, but similar situation to New York, where you're really going to have to participate in a rebuild, and it didn't go great for him the first time. I don't think it was to his fault. We'll see if the Titans front office can build a necessary offense and a necessary roster for him to have success with, but interesting. And him and DeMeco Ryans was his linebackers coach in San Francisco, and his successor as defense coordinator in San Francisco, coaching in the same division, will be playing each other twice a year, as well as Robert Saleh and Liam Cohen, who had their little altercation in week 4 earlier in the year. So that makes for some cinema in the AFC South division. And it's crazy because AFC South, as long as we've been alive, has been like the worst division in football. And all of a sudden we're like, Indy's got a little bit of juice. Houston and Jacksonville are pretty good. Tennessee's getting solid. The AFC South might be one of the premier divisions in 3 or 4 years from now. But that's it. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off and say goodnight?
Well, all I want to say is John Harbaugh, Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
Wow, that's big. And you know what? The Steelers, the Bills, the Ravens, you got some coveted jobs. Find your coaches, because I don't know who's going to be left for y'all. But Who knows? Everyone's trying to find the new Ben Johnson. Everyone's trying to replicate what Shanahan and McVay have.
Yeah.
You better find it soon because right now it's looking pretty lopsided. That's all I want to say.
It seems like the future now is it was the last like decade or so. It's been these young offensive gurus in terms of the McVays, the Shanahans, the Stefanskis, the the LaFleurs. The list goes on. Now I'm looking at it, and I think we're in the era of the young defensive minds, right? Jeff
Yep.
Hathley. We're seeing what Mike McDonald's doing in Seattle, and I think one of the most coveted one of the most coveted head coaches in this cycle is Jesse Minter, who is the Los Angeles Chargers defensive coordinator. So I think this is going to be a very defense heavy, and I think this always happens in the NFL. You go through waves where you've got like the league's one way for like 10 years, and then it always comes back to the way it was earlier, and it feels like we're getting back towards these defensive head coaches. Brian Flores is another name who's a defensive head coach. So it's really fascinating. But as for this year, me and you, we'll be talking throughout the offseason about head coaches and rosters plenty, but we've got 2 more games to go, AFC Championship, NFC Championship. I'll be there to preview it. Me and you will be there to recap it next week. UFC, for all my UFC people, is back this week.
Hey.
I am over the moon to talk UFC again. It has been too long. Justin Gaethje, Patty Pimblett, and an absolutely loaded card. So I'll be there to preview and recap that.
It's gonna be a dogfight.
It's gonna be fun. I'm so excited because the name is Offsetting Penalties, and it feels like all I've been talking about is football lately. But this is an NFL and UFC podcast, and I'm so excited to get back to talking about some violence and some fights. So Zach, any last words? Plug the socials, anything? Please do.
Hey, Gametime Grech, you know where to find me. Appreciate you, Joe, always. Always, always, always. Now I want to say, is the NFC taking it? Is the AFC taking it? Who knows?
Who knows?
Find out. Find out.
Who knows?
I want to say.
Everyone's saying Seahawks or Rams. Whoever wins that game's winning the Super Bowl, and I think people are jumping the gun a little bit to that. I think the Patriots have a lot to say, and Denver still got an elite defense. So it's going to be fun to watch. Championship Sunday this Sunday, UFC this Saturday. I'll be here to preview, react to it, all of the above. Anyone who's psycho enough to be here till the end, I appreciate you. I love you, and we will talk to you later.
Peace out. Appreciate y'all.